Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I have Bryant Sells with me, who is a franchise owner. He's been doing franchise consulting for over 10 years, is that correct?
2 years consulting, over 10 as an owner of
As
a
an owner.
Yes.
So we're gonna have him today telling us all about franchising, how to get started, tips, advice, and all that. So if you guys want more videos like this one, make sure you subscribe to his channel, like this video, leave us a comment, and let's get right into it. So Bryant, you wanna go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Bryant Sells. Yes, that is my real last name. And I've owned You Break, I Fix franchises for around 10 years. That's really how I got my start into franchising. My dad also invested in a breakfast brunch franchise, so I got some experience from there as well. Around 2 years ago, I started doing franchise consulting, which the best way to describe that is I educate my clients about franchising and connect them with one of the over 700 brands that I represent.
Wow.
That's what I do, and that's what I've been doing.
I love that. Yeah, I think we have franchises all around us. We don't realize that Starbucks is a franchise, gyms are franchises.
Correct.
Domino's is a franchise.
Right.
They're literally all around us. And I think this is such an opportunity that we should really educate on, because it's a great way to start a business without kind of doing everything yourself. That kind of brings me to my first question. So as we know, startup businesses, 90% of them fail in their first year of starting. Now, when you look at that statistic for franchises, that number is significantly lower. It's 50%.
Right.
So I guess, can you walk us, through like the benefits of owning a franchise? Why would somebody have a franchise instead of their own business?
Okay, so the core reason why franchising is successful is not brand recognition like a lot of people think. They think you buy McDonald's because everybody recognizes the logo and the brand, but in reality, it's the processes and the business intelligence behind that business model that's really what they're selling. It's the fact that the owners of that franchise have already tried, tested again and again and again the processes. So by the time they sell you their operations as a franchisee, they've tested this business model dozens and dozens of times. Right. So it's versus if me and you decide to write a business plan down, we have to anticipate if our business plan is going to work, but we won't know it's going to work because it's not as tried and true as a franchise. And because of that reality you just mentioned, it's a lot easier to get funding for a franchise than it is a non-franchise business, because the success rate is so much better for a franchise, like you mentioned. Yeah,
because you're basically, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're kind of taking something that's already there and you're just basically growing it, from my understanding. So I guess with getting into franchising, can you kind of walk us through the process of becoming a franchisee and talk about a little bit of the startup capital that might be involved in buying a franchise?
Right. So that's kind of the best part, is the explaining to people how to access capital, access to capital and using other people's money. This is what defines the behaviors of the rich and wealthy, honestly. So with franchising, the average franchise I sell is around 100 to maybe 200,000. And anytime you hear a price quoted in franchising, that's the franchise fee, all of your initial costs to get the business started, as well as 3 months of operating capital to actually get it going. Okay. So any price quoted, that's kind of what's in it. So between 100 to 200. And to get it open, most people don't use cash, just like you don't buy a house cash normally. You don't normally buy a car cash. People barely pay cash for freaking Starbucks these days. They finance everything. Naturally, you finance a franchise. So this is very general speaking, right? Because it's a case by case when it comes to getting your capital. But generally speaking, if your credit score is above a 680, if you can get around 15 to 20K liquid, and you're have a net worth of around 150 and up, and if you struggle with calculating your net worth, is just all your assets minus your liabilities to get that net worth, then you could probably qualify for around 150 up in capital through an SBA. So just to give people an idea of where you need to get to kind of qualify, if you don't have any assets in your name, like property is the main one my clients tend to have to get their net worth where it needs to be, it's pretty tough to get capital.
Right.
They got to show you got something, because if you have negative debt to income ratio, you're never gonna get a loan.
Yeah.
just being honest.
And I always heard from one of my mentors that if you're financing your own deals, you're not doing enough deals. So I feel like one of the skills that everyone needs to learn is how to get funding. As a beginner, is there any specific steps I guess they should take before becoming a franchise owner? Does it require any kind of like education or skills? Like what would you recommend for someone thinking about getting started?
So if you don't have a management background, if I took any training, I would take management training.
Management,
right.
Okay.
And there's coaches, if you email me, I can connect you with a management coach who just specifically teach those techniques, because franchising is all about managing the manager. That's really the key to being a real entrepreneur. Because if you don't learn how to manage the manager, you're going to end up working in your own business, which is not the point of franchising. Right. The point is to open up 5, 10, 15. You can never do that without strong management skills. So that's what I would suggest. That's where I screwed up personally. I felt like early on, because I got into entrepreneurship so early. I never had traditional management training. I was just a kid, and I just messed up, So that's the best way I can answer that question. Management training, and then right after that is financial literacy training. First of all, hire an accountant. Don't do your own books.
I totally agree. My God, it's so worth it hiring an accountant.
Hire an accountant, trust me, because the amount of money you will save by not making tax liability mistakes, as well as other hard to see mistakes. You just won't see it, because it's hard to see money without having a background and looking at money. It's just going to look like Chinese unless you understand how cash flow and books really work. So management training, financial training, and that's probably where I would go.
I love that. So this isn't something you need a college degree for then?
Heck no.
Yeah,
no.
You would say that this is something, learn those skills, figure out how to do it, hire someone to do it better than you, and then focus on the management part.
Right. Not rocket science either. These very simple things you can abide to like do great. But people, those stats you brought up at the very beginning, the 90% failing and the 50, like these are all people who are not good business operators. Like just straight up, it's not easy it's easy to run a business poorly. Anybody, whatever.
Absolutely.
Anybody can run a business
Most
poorly.
people do.
Right. But it's hard to run a business the right way, because you have to really resist a lot of natural urges to want to do certain things.
Yes.
Bad habits like micromanaging is a classic. A lot of people have struggled to hire a person and let it go.
Yeah.
Right? They just want to get it on their hands on it so bad. But real entrepreneurs understand, like, I'm outsource. You gotta hire. So just resisting that urge to just do everything yourself. A lot of people just fail with that one. You know?
And it's hard because raising a business is like raising a baby, right?
Exactly.
But you have to really learn to emotionally detach.
Right. I have a phrase I love that is marry the money, date the business.
I love that.
People fall in love with an idea. A business is just an idea. It's a piece of paper. You ball it up, buy another one. Who cares?
That's
Leverage
so true.
it. This is just a tool. You don't fall in love with the shovel, do you?
No.
Right? It's just a tool. You use it to move dirt around, and then you just get another one.
That's powerful.
I'm telling you, powerful. People, because once emotions are involved, how great are your decisions when you're madly in love with somebody? Everybody makes bad choices when they're in love.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're in love with this business for irrational reasons, you're not going to sell it when you need to sell it. You're not going to cut that employee, maybe. You may not make that hard choice because you're married to a business, which is fundamentally irrational.
Absolutely.
Don't do that.
I agree. I think emotions is one of those things that really get people, and people fail, is they get too emotionally tied to everything in business. The numbers, how the employees are doing things, how the logo looks. I mean, it's emotions. And like you were saying, when people are operating on emotions, it's going to be like an up and down roller coaster when it needs to be steady.
It is an emotional roller coaster naturally. Being an entrepreneur, the trick is understanding how to ride that ride and not panicking, in control. Like,
absolutely,
you're gonna get stressed out. It's fine. Just have a way to manage that. You're gonna, feel overwhelmed. You're gonna feel this. You're gonna feel that. It's normal to feel these emotions. It's just important to not make a decision while you're in that state. Bring yourself back, then choose what to do so you can make a better choice.
I love that. And I think you saying that is just super powerful. I think everyone needs to hear that no matter what business they're managing. That kind of brought me to my next question. So I know you were saying that eventually we do want to hire people to do everything for us. So in the beginning with franchising, would you say it's very hands-on or very hands-off?
Hands-on.
Very hands-on.
So there's terms used in my industry, owner-operator, semi-passive, absentee for ownership, right? In my humble opinion, you have to earn semi-absentee ownership and absentee ownership. This is not something that can be given to you in a business model. And I say that because they try to sell their business models like, oh, it's semi-absentee, it's semi-passive, you just whatever, 20 hours a week. But this is contingent upon you being a intelligent, capable entrepreneur and actually hiring effectively, training effectively, managing effectively. Yeah, sure, if you can do that, any business is semi-passive or absentee. I mean, the CEO of Apple, shoot, he probably doesn't work that hard.
Not as much as we think.
Yeah, is Apple an absentee? But no, like any business can be that, though, is what I'm getting at. So you just have to focus on training and management and just how to manage the manager. That's the best way I could explain it, because that is the core skill needed to actually achieve real business ownership. Because if you cannot take a week-long vacation at any given moment, or a month vacation even as an entrepreneur, you don't have a business, you have a job.
And you're self-employed.
Right. And there's this book by the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy, Robert Kiyosaki, called the Cash Flow Quadrant.
Love that book.
Excellent book, right? And on the left side of that quadrant is employee, self-employed. Right side, business owner, investor. When you buy a franchise, you can be on the left or the right side. You have to intentionally move that business to the business side. Otherwise, you're just self-employed.
Absolutely.
Which is never the point of franchising.
Absolutely. I always say there's a big difference between business owners and being self-employed. When you're self-employed, you're giving yourself a high-paying job. And you're saying, well, franchising, that's not the point.
No, you can do that, though. You can make that mistake. And it is a mistake, I promise. And they're going to a good franchise will try to coach you out of that. But hey, you're driving the car. If you want to drive it the way you drive it, they can't force you to do anything. So you could just drive it off a cliff if you chose to. But the map they're going to give you is going to show you the way. But, egos get involved. Those are usually the people that screw it up.
Got it. Yeah, well, that's good to know. I think them watching this are definitely going to take notes on this and try not to do that. So
don't.
I kind of wanted to pivot more into, I guess, experience in some of your personal stories. So I guess, do you have any stories of something you've dealt with that was very uncommon or difficult, maybe consulting with someone or in your personal experience?
Absolutely. I mean, I could sit here for an hour, 10 hours, tell you horror stories of problems I've done with my personal franchises. Just a few, like insurance. I think about insurance a lot when I explain franchising to people because I've gotten burned multiple times. Once I got robbed in my store. These guys just threw a brick through the door. Yeah, it happens, right? I mean, nobody was hurt. It was the middle of the night. Yeah. But these are things you just have to anticipate as an owner. And long story short, I called my insurance thinking I was covered. I wasn't. So I had umbrella coverage and general liability, but the theft is under personal property coverage. So umbrella sounds like, oh, it's an umbrella, I'm covered, right? No, it doesn't mean that.
It doesn't.
No. So it's just, long story short, I eventually learned the hard way how much insurance you actually have to cover to keep a brick and mortar business open where customers can walk in the door, they have the opportunity to slip and fall, hurt themselves, to sue you, do this. So I really talk about insurance liability with all of my clients.
I was going to ask, because
you can pick your poison. You don't have to open yourself up to all this liability. You can choose a lesson. You can pick a business that's less likely to get robbed. I owned a cell phone repair shop. Thieves look at it, they're like, man, there's probably phones back there.
Yeah.
Of course they broke in. Another quick story. Also, my place got flooded one time with raw sewage. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You have a lot of experience.
If you open a business for 10 years or more, it's like the Murphy's Law just works in overdrive for an entrepreneur. I feel like just when things can go wrong, they just get attracted to you over time. So the only way to do it is you have to, like a boxer, protect yourself at all times. Just assume you're going to get robbed or this is going to happen or somebody's going to screw you because eventually it's going to happen. So long story short, I got flooded out. I ended up having to close the place. My landlord originally said, oh yeah, we'll take care of this. And then after ServPro came in, gutted the place, fixed it, took a month, I had to close. There was like a $75,000 bill and they just sent it to me. And I was like, well, what's up with this?
Wow.
And then I ended up having to call a lawyer, sue my landlord and fight with them for a year to eventually get them just to pay a bill that they were legally due to pay. Obviously, if you read the content of the lease, but they fought it anyway. And that's what I've learned is that commercial landlords are some of the dirtiest companies around. They are dirty. So you would
say your biggest enemy in this business is the commercial landlords?
100%. If you were to interview those people, that 90% who went out in the first 5 and the 50% of the first, I guarantee you most of them are going to start talking about their landlord and their lease because that's what usually ends up being a noose that takes people out is because it's immovable. Like once you sign that thing, like they're going to come take your house if you can't pay them anymore. If you close early, they will say, oh, you signed a 7-year lease, you closed in 2 from slow sales, you owe me 5 years of rent now.
Wow.
So there's stories of poor people like, oh shoot, I got a $250,000 bill now and I'm broke. So yeah, I say that to say, go over that lease very carefully. And if you can do a non-brick and mortar business, do it. And that's why in franchising, van-based businesses are so popular because everybody knows it's the lease is the weight around your leg that usually drags you to the bottom.
Wow. That blows my mind. Out of all the things that I thought could have went wrong with franchising, I never thought that the lease would be one of them.
Yeah, it's always contentious. The landlord-tenant relationship is usually contentious.
So would you say then that franchising is beginner friendly or is this something you think is more advanced?
Honestly, business is tough no matter what.
Absolutely.
I never want to get it into somebody's head like, oh, this is easy because it's not.
It's not. Yep.
It's not easy. It's easier than doing it on your own. But the stats, even with franchise, you said half of the people will fail in 5 years. Do the math, So I explain to people, like, I ask them, hey, did you run track in high school? Play something, do anything competitive? Like, that's how this has to be considered. Like, you're not, joining the community center. This is a competitive event. This is a competitive experience. Like, as soon as you open your door, other people in the community want to run you out of business. They don't want you there, so you have to really accept the fact I have to compete if I want to win. Even within the franchise model, if you look at any franchise model and look at the bottom 25% of operators in terms of money they're bringing in, they're not happy people most of the time because they're not making money. They're going to start blaming they usually just start pointing fingers at people, like, oh, this guy's fault or that. It's usually their own fault because it's just tougher than they wanted to give it credit for. They got sold on something by some slick talking sales guy and he didn't tell them that back end. But that's why talking to a consultant like me is helpful because we tell you the truth versus, I'm telling you, franchise industry is full of sharks, man. Because these guys they're sales guys, right? Yeah. They're selling. So they'll sell you, and they don't tell you the backside of it, like, oh, by the way, like, this is what can go wrong, because they just want to sell, and, they got those blinders on. So you got to really educate yourself because they're talented salespeople.
So when you I guess commit is the word. When you commit to buying a franchise, is there some kind of contractual agreement you have to have, or is it something you can bail out on last minute? Because I remember you were saying that if you close it early, for example, you still own the rent. So is there some kind of obligation for people? Right.
100%. So the franchise agreement is what you sign, right? And this is usually a 10-year agreement, sometimes 20. And all sorts of caveats can be in that agreement, whether it's, you have to open more units within a certain amount of time, which they call an area development agreement, or all sorts of stuff. Honestly, there's a lot of control in there, and it's usually not anything negative, but you should go through it and understand territory, all sorts of obligations that we put upon you. But if you close early, usually they will show up and try to buy you out, or they're not going to stop you from closing the franchise because they're really trying to help you, right? That landlord is not trying to help you, but the franchise is. So they'll work with you normally if you're failing because I mean, you're failing. They're going to try to do what they can to like help, but so they won't really attack you like.
Because they depend on the profits as well.
Right. They want you to stay in business because you make more money, they make more money.
We all make more money.
Generally speaking, so they're not the one you need to worry about most of the time. Landlord first. People do end up suing their franchisors a lot for all sorts of reasons, you know, but best way I could explain that is understand that your franchisor, when you're a franchisee, they are not your friend, they are your business partner. Business partnerships sour all of the time. Just understand that they are not your friend, your partner. You gotta just treat them as such because friction can occur sometimes.
Absolutely.
And lawsuits and all that good noise.
Wow. Well, on that note, let's pivot and talk about a success story you had. So tell me about a success story you had either from selling a franchise to someone or helping someone get one or yourself.
Absolutely.
So share with us that.
Yeah, so I worked with a client recently and he was a big restaurant guy, so he really wanted a restaurant, all right? And I normally don't advise people to buy restaurants unless you have prior experience because they're tough to run.
Absolutely.
A lot of low-wage employees, a lot of turnover, high overhead, very large square footage, a lot of equipment, usually $600,000-700,000 just to start this thing, one unit. So anyway, he asked me for a restaurant. I ended up connecting him with a milkshake franchise. And the reason why is there were certain advantages to sell premium milkshakes. And the main one was no food loss, food waste. In normal restaurants, they throw away a lot of food every night. Ice cream lasts for 2 years, so all of it.
I did not know that.
Right, it does. And it's like a very high-end premium ice cream. And, you know, this is like a 100-year-old company that's been making chocolate. And so very premium product.
I'm sure when you're consulting, I'm assuming you also kind of sit down with the person, analyze what is your goals, what is your niche,
Exactly.
you know,
That's
all
where
that
I
before
start.
you suggest with them.
Exactly.
what to
That's where the process starts is me asking you, the client, questions. What's your background? What's your goals? And the real key question is what kind of lifestyle are you trying to achieve? I try to explain to people business ownership is not a career choice. This is a lifestyle shift.
Absolutely.
You know, like if you have a 7-day-a-week business, you have a different lifestyle, most likely, where you could get a call on any Sunday, you know, whatever, get 5 day a week. So whatever the case. But so that gentleman who bought the milkshake business, it worked out for him. He's opened it down in Riverview.
Awesome.
He's super excited about it. And one other small thing about that business model, the inflation, everybody knows inflation is going up. Discretionary income is going down. Milkshakes are such a nice, fun experience. It's almost shifting out of the food and beverage space into the entertainment space, where if you're a family of 2 or 3, your kids are clamoring, you want to do something fun for them on a Saturday, you may not go to Busch Gardens anymore. You might just take them and get a milkshake, you know, because it makes them happy, they're excited, it gets them out of the house. So it's a nice business that even in a down economy, people probably go still get a milkshake.
Because it's not expensive. It's like you said, fun. It's like cheap date.
It's
like,
a cheap
take
date.
your kids there.
It's an emotional pick-me-up. So, you know, down economy, being in a space that people emotionally attach as a pick-me-up, not a bad place to be.
I love that. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to ask you about some market trends. So we know recently the U.S. has been hit with a recession and we had COVID and IT was hit, for example, pretty bad with all that. With franchising, is there any market trends that you see are either concerning or good, or like how's it looking for franchising in the future?
Well, some of the traditional brands like fast food, you know, is really hurting. And it's especially in places like California where the payroll has gone up so much.
Yeah.
The business model is just failing. I mean, it's just meant to offer cheap, affordable food, but food costs have gone up, labor costs have gone up. The equation is off now, where if the business equation goes off where the owner's not making any money, you either shut it down or you just whatever, give up. So I've noticed a lot of them are struggling to say the least. So that's the negative side. The positive trends in franchising, health and wellness are going way up. Home service brands are always extremely popular. Boutique fitness has been very popular. Everybody's seen Orange Theory or F45 pop up in your your local neighborhood. A niche that I really like in fitness that's not spoken about a lot is the 55 and up crowd boutique fitness. And the reason why is who has all the money?
You're right.
Once again, in a down economy, between me and you, young folk like us, like, shoot, the gym membership be the first thing that goes.
Absolutely.
You know, so, but with the elderly, health is more important. They have more money. You're much less likely to start losing, bleeding clients if you cater to a 55 and up crowd in a down. And I like boutique fitness where the full number is like 120, you know, like then I know 150 clients or whatever. Then I know, all right, if I can just get to 150 clients, my retention rate is 80%, 85% year over year. Once you get that thing full, you don't have to do a lot of active marketing.
Right. It kind of speaks for itself.
Right. It's got retention, client acquisition costs, things like that. How many door swings you need per month to break even. Those are conversations I like to have. With my cell phone repair shop, I needed to get 300 people through the door more to get a good number,
to
right?
break even.
Well, not to break even, but to get a healthy net. That was usually like the goal, you know. So one quick example there. Mattress sales, you could sell one mattress a day and have $1 million business.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. There's a difference in different businesses, right? Like there could be low ticket items and high ticket items.
Right.
And high ticket items, you don't need as many sales.
No, and the margins are better.
Absolutely.
Net margins are defines all of business in my opinion. I don't like businesses with net margins below 20% personally.
Okay.
Because it's you just open yourself up to market changes like the fast food people. And if it's too thin, it might stop making sense from small changes in the economy.
Okay. Wow. That's so. Just a quick few examples. I know we talked a lot about food and we touched a little bit on health and wellness. What are some other niches that maybe people don't know about that are your favorites?
Right. So home service dominates franchising. You're right. And these are the brands you will never notice in your community.
Okay.
You'll see a wrap service van next to your neighbor's house. They're maybe, I don't know, getting a kitchen remodeled or something. You just don't know that, this is a franchise with 500 franchisees all across the country.
Wow.
You know, and that a lot of home service brands are moving towards franchising. Reason being is you don't need that brick and mortar. They're ditching the landlord. Not only that, the margins are pretty good. You can pay your employees fairly well. You can attract a different type of employee who is skilled labor, which you want to hire skilled labor. That skilled versus unskilled labor is an important distinction when you're analyzing a business you want to own. That's why health and wellness is popular, because you're hiring nurses a lot of times. Home service, you're hiring handymen, people with skills. So they're easier to pay well, easier to retain, less turnover, things of that nature. So just to be specific, there's a drywall patching franchise I'm very fond of. Reason being is it's a niche. Niches make riches. A lot of my favorite franchises are ugly industries, as I like to say. People are always attracted to the sexy businesses on Main Street on the corner, like ice cream shops and beauty salons. But a lot of times the dirty jobs pay the best. It's a fantastic niche to get into. There's a lot of professionals in every community, handymen, everything like that, but they don't really like doing drywall repair. They want to shoot for bigger jobs usually, and it's a wide open lane. Not only that, I network religiously all the time. I'm in a massive networking group, and there's a lot of professional connections you can make to easily get repeat referrals over and over again without you having to ask for it, which is really the name of the game in networking, is build those permanent relationships where you're repeatedly getting like, I get jobs every week from so-and-so, right?
Absolutely.
So as a drywall patch repair person, plumbers, electricians, handymen, AC people, they're going to send you leads left, right, and center, because plumbers punch holes in walls, AC guys walking around, put their foot through a ceiling all the time, electricians have to cut through the wall and run wire. None of these people patch walls. None of them are interested in patching walls. This is not in their business model. They want to just refer it out. And just as long as you do a good job, you show up, knock it out, and their customer gets out of their hair, that's it. You'll get business forever. So that's just one example of a industry that people would probably look right over, but the money is fantastic.
Wow.
And one technician to run it, one wrap van, credit card to Home Depot to go get drywall, and you're on your way. A lot of other benefits there. Talk to me if you want. Insurance benefits. easy to build business credit in that business, which is a whole nother conversation. A lot of people don't understand your personal credit score and your business credit score are completely different things. You can build your business credit and access additional capital without attaching your personal assets to it. Home service industries are easier to build that credit because of the style of business they're in. So a lot of upsides to that type of business model.
Wow. So, I mean, where can people find you? Like, do you have a LinkedIn? What's your phone number, website?
All of the above. Come find me on LinkedIn. My name is Bryant, Bryant, like Kobe Bryant. Sells like I'm selling something, SELLS. I'm on Instagram, _franchise_fanatic. You come find me on Facebook. I have a page for my company, Apex Franchise Consulting is my company name, or just come to the website, www.apexfranchiseconsulting.com, and just book an appointment on there.
Awesome. And do you charge people for these appointments, or?
I do not.
Okay,
that is
so
the
it's
best
free.
part.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we
that's
are a
awesome.
free resource that most people aren't aware of.
Wow.
And the way it's set up, I get paid by the franchises to recruit people, right? I work with over 700 different brands. They give me buyer profiles they're looking for. Maybe it's a creative woman they're looking for an interior design business. Maybe it's a person with a background in, construction or general contract, whatever. And so I get all those clients and I really recruit for them and play matchmaker between all the brands I represent. And then I turn around and talk to my clients, profile them. What are your skills? What are your background? What are your objectives? Lifestyle you want to live, and connect them with the right brand. So because I bring value to the franchises, I don't have to charge the people buying them.
I love that. Yeah, I always say, how are you going to tell people to get to the money, but tell them to give you money to get to the money?
You don't have to give me
I love that.
anything.
I love that. So to conclude this video, I wanted to know, are there any key points, takeaways, or advice you want to give to the viewers who might be considering franchising?
Absolutely. I would say read. I do feel like reading books can be very helpful just to inspire you to want to take that leap, because it's very scary. Fear is the number one barrier between getting from where you are to where you want to go, generally speaking, right? So I like the idea of getting into entrepreneurship early. That would be my advice. I was pretty lucky. I got into U-Break I Fix around 22. Situationally, it just happened that way. But if you are a young person, talk to your parents. Maybe you're not into college like that, like a lot of people aren't. 4-year degree, if you talk about books, room, housing, and everything, is around the same cost as buying that drywall packaging franchise I just mentioned. It's another point I point out is that college debt cannot be erased in a bankruptcy court.
Wow.
But SBA loans, I can connect you with a bankruptcy attorney who can make that crap go away.
Wow.
You could fail. And I guess to sum that up, do not be afraid of failure. I think America teaches us young in school, like, oh, got to get good grades.
Absolutely.
If you fail this test, you're destroyed. It's all over. But the kids who get the best grades are the ones who just avoid failing. But at the end of the day, is that actually going to make you smarter?
Wow.
Or are you going to get smarter by actually screwing it up and then just not giving up?
Wow.
But that's what it's about. Don't get down on yourself. Just make sure your next hustle is your best hustle.
Absolutely.
The last one, just knock it out of your head. Everybody closes businesses. I ended up having to close one of my franchises. It was sad as hell, but I'm growing.
I love that.
So just make sure your next hustle is your best hustle and you'll get there.
Absolutely. If you're not failing, you're not learning.
Yeah, you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah, I agree. You have to fail to learn and make these mistakes to get better.
Gotta put yourself out there.
With that being said, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I'm also going to have all of his details down below, guys. If you want to get in contact with him, we're going to have his LinkedIn, phone number, email, website, everything. And as he said, he doesn't charge for these consultations. So if it's something you want to kind of delve in or you're considering it seriously, make sure to hit up Bryant. And with that being said, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.